Lucy's Kitchen, it's Lucy's Kitchen. She's Lucy and she's got a kitchen. Lucy's Kitchen.
And now that we've got your attention, let's cook. Hi there. Welcome to Lucy's Kitchen. I'm Lucy, and this is my kitchen. Today we're going to make corn chowder. I'm a Midwestern girl, so corn is one of my very favorite vegetables. When corn season is happening, you get piles of corn at the grocery store, and it's just the most beautiful and delicious sweet corn. You use it right away. You cook it, you eat it on the cob. You can use a knife and cut it off the cob and save the kernels or saute them or use them in cornbread. I mean, it's really a versatile vegetable. It's not corn season. Right now, it's actually a ways from corn season yet, but I can't wait. I can't wait anymore. So what am I going to do? I have to use frozen corn. And in this dish, you'll see that corn from the freezer is pretty good in corn chowder. In addition to our really beautiful sweet corn from the freezer section of the grocery store, I've got a nice potato. We're going to dice that up. We've got some onion. That's going to also be diced up. We're going to cook that with half the corn, and then we're going to puree it. Now, after that, we're going to have a nice, very, very thick base, and we'll add the other ingredients and finish it off. So some of the other ingredients are roasted red pepper, and I've diced some of that. And we mostly put that in for color, although it does give it a nice flavor as well. And then I've got my favorite, which is green chili. Now, green chili is basically a poblano pepper that's been roasted over an open flame, peeled and seeded and chopped up. And it's a little bit spicy, but not too much. It's going to just give a nice edge to this chowder. We've got normal things like broth. We've got milk, salt and pepper. And then I'm going to add just a pinch of saffron. Saffron is one of those lovely herbs. It's very expensive, as you know, but you just need a pinch of it. So it will add a beautiful accent to this incredible soup. So we might as well get started. Our very first ingredients will be these three. So I'm going to just chop up our onion. What I like to do, and it just makes it super easy, is I peel off the outside, cut it in half, and then take my knife, cut right here along the ribs. This just makes it easy. Now, you might be one of those people who happens to have a food processor, and in this particular case, go ahead and use it because it really doesn't need to be diced except for ease of cooking. So I'm just going to chop that up, dice that up, and we'll do the same with the other half. All right. Easy peasy. Put that back in our little cup. And altogether, I guess, one onion gives us about 2 cups of diced onions. Kind of making a mess. Pretty typical for me. Usually there's stuff all over the counter when I'm cooking. There we go. All right, next, our potato. This is a Yukon Gold potato. I've scrubbed it. It's a medium size, perfectly thin-skinned and very sweet. It's the perfect one to use for this dish. So I'm going to just slice it into some rounds here. And you just take the rounds and cut them into thirds or whatever. And there we go. And this knife is nice and sharp. So it is doing a really quick job of this. And there we go. Watch your fingers. Okay, that's it for the potato. So we're ending up with, looks like about a cup of potato. 1 medium potato is all you need. And again, this is not an exact science. This is a soup. So you want to get close to these measurements, but they don't have to be perfect. And so now what we're going to do is we're going to go over and we're going to start to saute our onions, potatoes, and corn, and take it from there. Okay, here we are now. We're going to saute everything in butter. And I've been heating up my pan. We've got a couple of tablespoons of butter. We'll just throw that in there. As soon as it's melted, which takes no time at all, we'll add our onions. And our potatoes. And we want to stir them around a little bit so that they get lots of butter all over them. And you want to make sure that they're kind of glistening before you add the corn. Perfect. Everything's glistening. So now I'm going to add half the corn. I've got 4 cups of corn. So if you were taking this off a cob, I think you probably need about 3 cobs of corn. This is 4 cups. We're going to use 2 cups. Now we want to stir this up. It already smells fantastic. And why wouldn't it? What's onion and butter but just a pure indulgence? All right, so to this I'm going to go ahead and add the salt and pepper, but I'm going to reserve our bay leaf for when we combine everything. So here's salt and pepper. 1 teaspoon of salt, ½ teaspoon of pepper, and here's my pinch of saffron. And saffron is like this little stamen off of a specific flower that grows in Spain. And so, oh, I think you can see it. It's really lovely. Maybe, so it's just these little stamens, and so you just have to squish it, just rub it, and that's it. Throw it in, and it smells just wonderful. Okay, so now we're going to add our broth. We're going to cover this and let it simmer for about 10 minutes. And we're adding half our broth now. So that's 1 cup of broth. Now I'm using chicken broth. You can use vegetable broth. You can use, I think you could even use beef broth if you want. It's your choice. If you want to use vegetable broth, you can keep this vegetarian. I think that any kind of broth will work. And what we want to do here is we're going to simmer this for about 10, maybe 15 minutes at the most, until everything's really soft and really cooked well. So before we're ready to puree the base of the corn chowder, I'm going to taste it and make sure it's tender enough. We want the potatoes to have cooked through and the onions to be soft, and you want the corn to be very tender. Very tender. All right, turn that off. Now I'm going to puree it and then at the counter so that you can watch me do it. I'm going to teach you a couple of tricks. And then we're going to come on back here and complete the steps. So what we've got now is corn, potatoes, onions, and a little bit of broth. And that's all cooked down. It's very, very tender and soft. And now we're going to puree this. And I'm going to use an immersion blender. This is a pretty hefty one. You can get them in all kinds of configurations, little ones and big ones, but this one is really powerful, so that's why I'm using it. If you don't have an immersion blender, you can use a regular blender or a food processor to do this step. This is so convenient though, because you just put it down here into the vegetables and the broth, and you just turn it on. nice things about an immersion blender is you don't have to transfer this hot soup to another container. You just use the same pot, so fewer dishes. And really, the most important thing is that you won't burn yourself putting it into a regular blender. In a blender, you would have to do this in batches. You wouldn't want to pour all of this in. It might blow the top right off the blender. Let it cool off quite a bit if you're going to use a blender. Food processor probably would be just fine, but it's still super hot. So I love these little things, especially if I'm making a cream soup. It's just so easy. And that's it. We're done. So meet me back over at the stovetop and we'll talk about the next steps. So the corn, potato, and onions have pureed so beautifully. It's almost thick enough to stand a spoon up in. I'm going to go ahead and taste it again in case I need to put in any additional seasonings. Oh, you could eat it just like this. This is so good. All right, I'm going to add the rest of the corn. And the rest of the broth. So that's nice and thick. And I'm going to add the milk. So it's beautiful because it's still nice and thick. It's more of a soup, and you're starting to see how much like a cream soup it is, which of course is what it is. And then you have the little bits of corn floating around. That's delicious, even before I've cooked it. Now I'm going to put the poblano chili in. And I'm going to wait to add the red pepper until we're just about ready to serve. So we'll just set that aside. I've got one bay leaf. It's going in there. And now I'm going to simmer this again for about 10-15 minutes until the corn is tender. We don't want it to be mushy, and it won't be, but we want it to be tender. So we'll get started. Cover it up. Bring it to a boil, and then when it boils, turn it all the way down to simmer, and then simmer for about 10-15 minutes. Okay. Our soup has been simmering for 15 minutes and it looks so creamy and delicious. I think it's done. Yeah, it's nice and thick without being too thick. I know I said earlier something about standing a spoon up in it, but we really don't want it that thick. We want people to be able to eat it like soup. So poblano chilies are floating around. They look gorgeous. So does the corn. And now we'll just add the roasted red pepper, about 1/4 cup, and we're just going to stir that in there just for flavor. And just stirring it is going to heat it up just as much as we need it to be. It's already cooked. All these ingredients, the poblano chili and this is already cooked, so we're just adding it in for more flavor, garnish, color, all the things you want when you look at a beautiful bowl of soup. So I'm going to go ahead and bring it over to the counter and we can give it a try. Okay, here we go. Smells amazing. This is the most beautiful corn chowder I've ever made. Look at this. It's absolutely gorgeous. You can see the poblanos, you can see the red pepper, and the corn is in there floating around. It's nice and thick. It's very fragrant. It's going to be the best corn chowder I've ever had. I know that. You can tell by the incredible smell. So I'm just pouring a little bit into my plate. Take my napkin and clean this off before serving. And I'm going to put a little cilantro on here, just for a nice touch. With the poblano chili, you're sort of getting a little bit of a Southwest flavor to this corn chowder. I'm also going to serve it with a wedge of lime. And I think I'm going to add maybe a little slice of avocado to the top. I think that'll be lovely. Let's see, I want this good one here. And it should float right on top. Well, there we go. Oh, kind of. Okay, well, let's give it a try. That's delicious. That is one of the most sublime chowders I've ever had. Now, chowder is just this wonderful thick soup, and it just adds so much to your meal. This could be a meal. It's so hearty and so delicious. Add a green salad, serve it with some crusty bread or some cornbread, I guess, if you want to do double corn. And you've got it. It's done. It's perfect. It's all for you. So enjoy making this soup. I hope you give it a try. And that's all for today. Thank you so much for joining us here at Lucy's Kitchen. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and come back next time when we offer more delicious recipes from my kitchen to yours.